Hi guys, and welcome back to a brand new video here on the channel. My name is James, and today we're going to go ahead and sit down and talk to you guys about our League One predictions for the 2024-25 campaign. That's right, the start of the season is just days away, and as 24 teams look to bid for their place in the championship, we're going to go ahead and predict who we think will be the biggest overachiever, the biggest underachiever, who will be relegated, who will make the playoffs, and finally who will be promoted. Now, before we go ahead and get into that, we're just going to quickly touch on EFL Fantasy. I just want to quickly talk about EFL Fantasy. If you don't know what it is, it's where you can pick 7 players to be a part of your team, as well as 2 teams as well who you think will have the better week that week. We've also got our own league this year, so yeah, I'll leave a link in the description down below if you want to go ahead and join our EFL Fantasy League. Now, we're going to go ahead and talk about our predictions for this League One campaign, and we're going to go ahead with our biggest overachiever. And my biggest overachiever is actually Reading Football Club. Now, I know a lot of people will probably think I'm calling biased here. Obviously, being a Reading fan, I want Reading to do great every single time, right? But I actually think a lot of people are writing Reading off already this year. When you take a look at the media predictions and people predicting online, you can see a lot of the time Reading are placed between 12th and 20th, and they think that they're going to finish in the bottom half of the table. And The Guardian even going as far as predicting Reading to be relegated, saying, and I quote, "The end for their turmoil looks most likely to be League Two." Now, I personally think Reading actually had a really strong campaign towards the back end of last season, and this year will be playing without an ownership issue. Reading's ownership situation looks to be finally coming to an end, as they're looking to be taken over by Rob Cohig. He's going to be looking to be leading a consortium that should hopefully be confirmed within the next couple of days. Reading also are going to have a manager now that isn't going to be as inexperienced as he was last year. Ruben Celes was able to come in last year towards the tail end of pre-season with a squad that was just thrown together. It was very inexperienced, very young, and a manager that had only really had 6 months kind of work experience really at Southampton just before. And when you take a look at Ruben Celes now, he's a manager that has matured massively. He's a manager that now is not tactically inept. He's someone that can actually adapt his tactics as well. He's someone that has found the right way to play with Reading, and it's starting to pay off. Now, we saw this as well towards the back end of last season. When you take a look at the last 30 games of the season last year, Reading finished 7th. When you take a look at every other team's 30 games, Reading were 7th in the table, and they picked up 48 points in that time. When you take a look at the on-pitch as well, Reading have got players like Lewis Wing, they've got players like Sam Smith, Harvey Nibbs, Femi Aziz, Kelvin Ehebachaman that have all stayed at the club in the off-season. Reading are the only side in the EFL not to make a signing this season. They also haven't really lost too much. Clinton Mola, Paul Makairu, probably the only players really that Reading are going to miss a little bit. I'd say Clinton Mola at left back is a little bit of a miss. He's obviously gone on to Bristol Rovers, but Makairu at left wing, he's just a good backup. So look, is it something that a youth player could do? Probably. And I think that's why we'll see Reading have a really strong campaign. Now, personally, I see Reading finishing between 5th and 8th. I think they'll have a really good season. I'm very positive when it comes to Reading this year. Last year, I actually had Reading as my biggest underachievers, whereas this year, I've got Reading as the biggest overachievers. Now, we'll go ahead and talk about our biggest underachievers next, and that's actually going to be Barnsley. Now, I've actually got Barnsley as my biggest underachievers, and when you take a look at the form towards the back end of last year, Barnsley had a really awful time. In 2024, Barnsley have won 4 games, drew 5, and lost 3, and that actually sat them in 13th in the League One table. Now, they actually won only 1 out of their last 9 towards the end of last season. Now, obviously, Barnsley have got themselves a new manager. They've picked up Cheltenham's former boss. But look, with the players that they've lost in the off-season this year, I think it's going to be really difficult for them to pick up where they were at the start of last season. Now, the players that they've lost are Devontae Cole, Herbie Kane, captain Jordan Williams, and Nicky Cadden have all left the club. Now, they have had some replacements come in with the likes of Conor Hourihane returning to the club, Marks Roberts has returned, and Georgie Gent as well will be looking to get a place in the starting lineup. But I think it's going to be really difficult for Barnsley. Now, obviously, last year, Cheltenham didn't have the greatest starts to the campaign, and they obviously then brought in the manager, and I think Clark will be looking to make that step up. I think this is the biggest job that he's ever been given, and I think it's either sink or swim for him. Personally, I think it's going to be sink, and I think it's going to be a difficult campaign for Barnsley. I see them finishing around mid-table position. Normally, Barnsley will be looking for promotion or playoffs minimum. I think this year it's going to be difficult, and I think Barnsley are going to be a mid-table side, and they're going to be my biggest underachievers. Now, the next teams that we're going to look at are our relegation teams. And for me, the first team, when you talk of relegation this year in League One, you got to think of Crawley Town. Unfortunately for Crawley, I think it's going to be really difficult for them. Scott Lindsay obviously getting a really shock promotion last year with Crawley. They obviously won and got promoted through the playoffs. They've lost some key players, though, this off-season, with Liam Kelly, Daniel Orsi and Clady Lollos all going. Liam Kelly, arguably their best player. Daniel Orsi, their top goal scorer. And Lollos providing some great battle in the midfield. Now, they are a bit of an unknown as well. Crawley's owners like to go through with this money ball tactic, so they're going to sign the best players from the worst teams. So Crawley could end up shocking everybody and end up being a team that survived this season. But look, I'm going to go with the safe bet, and I'm going to say Crawley will get relegated. My next team is Shrewsbury Town to go down. They've actually brought in a few strikers this year, the likes of John Marquis and George Lloyd. Now, the one thing that Shrewsbury struggled with last year was their goal scoring, and John Marquis and George Lloyd are not the players that you want to sign if you're looking to add goals to your team. Marquis is someone that, yes, is a bit of a nuisance up front, but is he an out-and-out goal scorer all the time? No. Is George Lloyd an out-and-out goal scorer? No. I think Shrewsbury will struggle this year again for goals. Tom Bloxham is obviously someone that could provide them goals for them, but I don't think he will. I think they'll struggle again, and I think this will be the year that Shrewsbury go down after just surviving last year. Northampton are another team that I've got that will go down. I think losing Sam Sherring, Mark Leonard and Louis Apere are massive losses for this Northampton side. I think there's a lot of pressure on Sam Hoskins again this year. He obviously performed last year after there being a lot of pressure on him last year, but I think it will be the end of the road for Northampton in League One. I think, look, they've made some good additions. Tom Eves and James Wilson might be able to alleviate some of that pressure for Hoskins, but I think it'll be it. And I think Northampton will go down this year. Finally, my last team to go down is Cambridge United. They survived last year, but I don't think they will this year. They brought Gary Monk in as their manager towards the back end of last season, but personally, I don't rate Gary Monk too much as a manager. Shane Lavery is someone who, if they do stay up, will be absolutely vital for them. I think he is someone that is capable of scoring goals in this division. Obviously, didn't have a great campaign for Blackpool last year, but I think he will be someone that will be vital for Cambridge if they are to stay up. Now, the next teams we'll go ahead and look at is the playoff sides, and the first team that I've got in the playoff positions are Charlton. Now, the key thing for Charlton this year is converting draws into wins. Now, something last year under Nathan Jones that they did a lot was draw a lot of games. 10 draws for Charlton last season when Nathan Jones came in. They just had 2 losses, though, and something that they really need to do is make sure that them draws get converted to wins. Now, obviously, Charlton have lost Alfie May. He was a big contribution towards their goal scoring last year, but they have added Ghassan Ademi and Matty Godden, who for me should be able to replicate the numbers that Alfie May was able to on his own together. They've also lost George Dobson in the midfield, but once again, they've had another replacement. Luke Berry is once again teaming up with Nathan Jones. Both people were formerly at Luton together, and they'll be looking to get another promotion together as well, as Luke Berry is joining Nathan Jones here at Charlton. Yeah, I think it will click. I think it will finally come together for Charlton, and I think Nathan Jones will get Charlton firing. And yeah, I can see them definitely making the playoffs, but it's only if they can convert them draws into wins. The next team we've got is Bolton Wanderers, and last year they were so close but fell just at the final hurdle. Now, Luke Southwood and Nathan Baxter as your 2 goalkeepers, it's got to be probably the best 2 goalkeeper pairings that you've got in the division. Now, they've obviously not had too many big losses. Obviously, Paris Magoma was someone that did end up going, obviously back to the club Brentford, where he was originally. But they have added some really, really good players. Chris Farino's come into the side, Clady Lollos, who we spoke about before, and Slablox Sean are players that have obviously been added to Bolton, and they should be able to bolster their squad massively. I think they will get the playoffs again this year. I don't think they've got enough for automatic promotion. When you take a look at Bolton under Ian Everett, they go higher in the places each year, so it wouldn't surprise me if they were able to get top 2, but I just don't see it happening this year. I think the top 2 are really strong for this division this year, and I think that Bolton will make the playoffs. The The next team that we've got is Wigan Athletic. Last year performed really well under difficult circumstances, and I think Sean Maloney will succeed once again with the group that he's got. They've had some really good off-season business, bringing the likes of Rankini, Francois and Calvin Ramsey into the side. Obviously last year was struck with a point deduction, and if there wasn't having that point deduction last year, would have been fighting for the playoffs. I see them in the playoffs this year as Sean Maloney gets himself more comfortable with a managerial situation. He's obviously worked with this group for about a year and a half now, so I think he will do some good once again with the squad that he's got. And yeah, I think Wigan will be another team that will make the playoffs. The next team and the final team that I think will make the playoffs is Huddersfield, relegated last season, but they've got some really good quality in my opinion. Sorba Thomas will be a big loss, so I think he would have been really good in League One, but he's been replaced with Lasse Sorensen, someone who did really well last year for Lincoln, playing in a right wing-back role. He's more of a right midfielder, right wing-back, so it depends where Huddersfield are going to play him, but I can see him being a replacement for Sorba Thomas. Herbie Kane and Anthony Evans as well are really good additions in League One. They both know the league really well, and I think they will be good signings in the midfield for Huddersfield. They were never going to keep Jack Rodoni, obviously, who has left them in the midfield, but Herbie Kane and Evans should do a good enough job to be able to maybe replace him. Reece Healy and Bojan Radolovic should be huge for Huddersfield this year, and if they can get firing, Huddersfield will have a really successful campaign. I can see Huddersfield being the third team in the top two, battling it out, and I can see them pushing the team I've got in second place all the way. But yeah, I think Huddersfield will have a strong campaign as long as the two strikers start firing, something they struggled to do last year. But yeah, I think they'll get firing this year. Teams that I've got fighting as well, just outside the playoffs, I've got Peterborough, Reading, Lincoln, Wickham and Blackpool. Wickham had a really strong end of the campaign last year, a really strong 2024, should I say, and I can see that continuing again now. Blackpool as well, always up there. Peterborough, always up there. They've lost Harrison Burrows, they've lost Josh Knight, they've lost a lot of their key players in the defence. It'd be interesting to see what happens with Peterborough. And then, yeah, obviously Reading, we spoke about them quite a lot at the start of the video. Finally, we'll go into our top two, and our team that we've got in second place who will be promoted is Rotherham. We've actually gone with Rotherham as Steve Evans knows this division really, really well, and it's such a smart appointment to get Evans in. Rotherham have also done their business really, really early, and it's something that I really liked from Rotherham. Johnson Clark-Harris is someone that is a really smart piece of business for League One. He's been picked up and he'll probably end up being the main striker for Rotherham this year. If he can get firing in this division, that's 20, 25, 30 goals a season, 100% from a player like him. He's 29 as well now, so he'll be starting to fire into his prime, and if we haven't seen prime Johnson Clark-Harris already, I can only imagine what it's going to be like in League One. Joe Rafferty and Sean Raggett as well, they're two players in the defence that have been signed by Steve Evans. They just won promotion with Portsmouth, and they'll be looking to get back-to-back promotions, this time with Rotherham. Look, Zach Jules as well is a really good pickup. They signed him from Exeter. I think he's a real solid addition. He's someone that knows League One as well really well, and I think Rotherham have just gone ahead and signed players that are really good for League One, if that makes sense. They've got players that know the league, and they're about this level, and they're good players for this level, and I think Rotherham will do really well. I think Steve Evans will do really well, as he always does, and yeah, I think we'll see Rotherham be promoted. Finally, the team that we've got as champions is Birmingham. Do I really have to say too much other than I think Birmingham are going to win the league? I think every single person that has predicted League One this season has gone with Birmingham to win the league. They've signed Alfie May, they've signed Willem Williamson for around £4-5 million. The business that Birmingham have done is absolutely outstanding. And when you take a look at the transfers that Birmingham have done, and I've seen a lot of Birmingham fans saying this, is that they're actually going for building a promotion squad for the Championship and not for League One. The additions they've made have been absolutely outstanding, and when you take a look at the players that they've already got in their squad, it's going to be really difficult to pick anyone but Birmingham to win the league. The likes of Sariki Dembele, the likes of Miyoshi, the likes of Alfie May, they've got a really strong squad, and that front three alone is terrifying. As well, the midfield is strong as ever, and in defence, Sanderson. I think it's going to be really difficult to pick anyone other than Birmingham. You've got Buchanan as well in there. I think, look, Birmingham are going to be the team to beat this year, and Reading, unfortunately for me as a Reading fan, have got the worst possible start. Sold out St Andrews first day of the season. Hopefully we can catch them cold and all the signings haven't mixed. I mean, so far in pre-season, Birmingham have been tearing teams apart. They've beat the likes of Rangers, West Brom, and I think Davis has got it absolutely sorted already as a manager. Be interesting, it's his first season as well as a actual first team manager, so it'd be interesting to see what will happen there, if the pressure's going to get to him halfway through, stuff like that. He's going to be in situations that he's never been in. Obviously, he's worked as Brendan Rodgers' number 2 for a lot of his career. So now he's the number one. Is he going to be able to take the pressure? I think so. And I think it'll be an easy campaign for Birmingham, who will win the league this year. Well, that's going to be it for this video today, guys. Thank you very much for watching. My name's been James, and we'll see you all again soon. Don't forget to put your comments down below. I'd love to see your prediction as well for this year. And yeah, we'll go ahead and see you in the comments. That's going to be it for this one today. Thank you very much for watching. We'll see you next time. Bye-bye.